Virgo. This is your March 2025 soul story. If you have a sun, rising or moon in the sign, this is your reading. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. It's Romy here. We're going to open up for you with the energy of the universe, the world. And the ceremony of this life is sacred. You're definitely moved by something. Maybe you didn't expect for it to hit you quite this way, but the heart speaks and you're listening. And you know, there's a power surge happening through the course of March. We begin with a Venus retrograde in Aries. So for the next 40 days and 40 nights, you're moving through this cycle of things that are deepening for you, getting to know all parts of yourself. And you may want to reflect back to 8 years ago, because there's going to be a similar theme coming up. But of course, you've evolved and you've changed. And as you reflect on how you're seeking to find your way home from where you are right now, there's this constant need for reflection and renewal and recalibration, and March really holds a space for you. Now, we know that Venus retrograde can at times feel a little bit turbulent, and along with the eclipse energies this month and a Mercury retrograde, you're certainly set to come up against a consistently changeable, mutable astrological conversation that might have more than a few curveballs for you. But there's something about this energy of the world that brings in this sort of sense of peace and completion for you. I believe it's a chance for you to be closer to yourself and to the life that you've envisaged for yourself, Virgo, for maybe a very long time. And what you think about, what shows up for you, what occurs is going to be some really interesting food for thought, because it's going to challenge you, certainly, but it's also going to create some opportunities for you to be brave. And I think that braveness, that boldness is definitely required as you navigate through the course of the month ahead. Now, Mercury moves into fire sign Aries on the 3rd. We also have a sun trining with Mars on the 7th, so pay attention. You know, it just feels in and around that time you might have some courage and confidence with regards to an opportunity or something that you realize needs a little bit of your boldness and some inspired action to keep moving forward. You know, this month is not without complications, but when things are fated, they just simply come together, maybe in ways that we wouldn't have necessarily wanted or, again, thought were possible. Nonetheless, it just feels like something is underway for you, and I'm sure you're going to be able to feel it quite powerfully. Now, our Knight of Wands in the world suggests, maybe there's something a little bit out on the horizon, further afield. You might be looking over the borders and just kind of thinking about expanding your mind, and maybe connections or messages or opportunities or travel is really in your thought process right now, because it feels to me that you need to sort of almost operate in a different environment or feel a different type of energy in order for you to prepare to take the step, the big step, the important step, and quite honestly, the unstoppable step that I think is sort of emerging for you. Now, the big news, of course, is we have this lunar eclipse, full moon in your sign, happening on the 13th, and you're going to have to let go of a lot of the kind of the self-doubt and criticism and all the reasons why you think it's not possible or you shouldn't do it or isn't the right time, and be really aware of how some of those stories that you've been playing out for many years have consistently been part of the problem and making you feel maybe limited or having some resistance around going after the things that you really want. Now, there's something that feels like a stretch, okay, but that's not a reason not to go for it. And I feel like you're being kind of pushed, cajoled, and maybe even at times feeling like you're being shoved in the direction of something. The lunar eclipse is also set to reveal some interesting information, and that Knight of Wands, remember, is always a messenger. Now, that might be something that actually brings some real closure to a situation for you as well, maybe something that you've been grappling with. The King of Swords comes in, and maybe there's a little bit of a challenge there, but in a way I kind of feel like he can be helpful if we try to tune in that respect. Now, when you come up against this, maybe in and around that lunar eclipse, you might be saying, Romy, it's far from helpful. Okay, however, I just think that the potential negotiation or what they challenge you over, and therefore what they make you think about, is going to be super helpful in hindsight as you continue to move through the month of March. Okay, so don't get too frustrated. Now remember, we've got a Mercury retrograde arriving on the 14th, right under the light of that eclipse energy, and so sometimes we can sort of misunderstand what is being asked of us, or messages or communication that's coming forth. All right, so just take some time to reflect and really think about, you know, whether you fully understand or whether there's more questions or you need more time. Now this is something that you're likely to revisit. Okay, with both Venus and Mercury retrograde, there's time. There's time to come back to this, and maybe there is also an instruction not necessarily to jump in to commit to something, because maybe there is more information that you know intuitively just needs to be understood or come to light around this time. We also have the asteroid goddess Juno going retrograde in Sagittarius, and remember, you know, she's going to be wanting to review documents, anything legal, partnerships, agreements. And again, with regards to relationships, this is definitely a month in the year where things are going to be reviewed and talked about in a big way. Now that can lead to a better outcome, a better reciprocal situation, but it might also lead to some full and firm conclusions about something just, you know, having reached its capacity for like growth. And it may just be that, you know, you choose and you decide to wrap something up or to move away from something, but clearly the decision and the choice with judgment is coming in with quite a crossroads moment for you. And I think maybe you've been feeling this was on the horizon a little bit, and when we add that to the fact that, you know, something is moving you this month, there's some passion in that Knight of Wands energy. And I feel like maybe you're also realizing the things that have held you back or contained that in some way, and that's no longer an option for you. I do think you will be surprised how you feel this month, even if somebody had a conversation at the beginning of March and told you sort of the lay of the land. You would be like, no, there's no way that I would think that, or I would feel that, or that would ever happen. And yet it kind of has the hallmarks of, you know, a lot of the unexpected, you know, coming to light. Now, of course, we've got the equinox coming on the 20th. And again, this is a beautiful opportunity for that reflection, renewal and reset moment. You've got your Page of Wands here. She's holding out something of value to you. I think you're interested, you're curious, you want to know more, you want to keep lines of communication open. It sparks something in you. I think though that there's also this sort of worry or this concern or this being held back by something or someone in your life that's almost preventing you from sort of allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to fully immerse in that conversation that's energetically unfolding. I do believe by the time you get to the end of the month, you'll make peace with something and you'll actually go for it. There does seem to be this energy of just like, I kind of can't put this on hold anymore, or I can't not allow myself to explore this or be curious about this. There's also sort of an earnest quality, I think, to the way that somebody approaches you, and I think you really feel that. It just strikes a note. It sort of reminds you about a part of yourself, a version of yourself, a time in your life. There's something that's coming back around, you know, maybe again connected to this 8 years ago as you move through this Venus cycle. And you remember something about who you are, what used to light you up, or what you were good at. And I think that that comes together at this moment where Two of Cups, we have a decision and a choice that feels actually in some ways like the right choice for you. And when we come into the second part of March and we're building up to this solar eclipse, new moon in Aries, there's a sort of restless and, you know, almost slightly ambitious energy that says, do you know what, I can do this. I do want to stretch myself. I do want to kind of, you know, go all in, or find a way to make this happen, or find a way to make this work. You've got the synergy and the balance here. You've also got a clear pathway forward, but the landscape is very juxtaposed and it's sort of creating lots of different conditions. And so the flow here is a little bit erratic. And I think, you know, we also have this slight Pandora box energy, I think, in March, where we're not quite sure what's set to be revealed and come to light. Nonetheless, it does show that you have an opportunity to be able to find or to regain some balance towards the end of the month. And I think that that new moon, again, the power surge energy that's happening is going to put you in a place where you're absolutely ready to have a really important conversation. And that conversation feels like it's opening up a whole new kind of lens of how you look at your life. I mean, it really is quite remarkable, I think, how March is set to sort of change the storyline a little bit. You know, we often see trajectory shifts happening with these eclipses. Things often, you know, are happening in sort of threes, so pay attention to kind of how that might be revealing itself. But I think that, you know, following that lunar eclipse, you definitely get to a point by the end of the month where you're just like, okay, you know, what have I got to, there's almost like a what have I got to lose type of an energy, okay? As I said, there's a big step, there's an important step, and there's something very fated about how this month wants to connect to you, Virgo, what it's asking of you. And, you know, that means that there also has to be some things that get left behind. And I think this is also a month where you're trying to come to terms with that. You're trying to come to terms with what that will mean, the exit of something from your day-to-day experience, you know, the letting go, the full and final release and surrender. What does that really mean? Now, both Venus and Mercury will move out of Aries in their retrograde and shift into Pisces at the end of the month, 27th and the 29th. And so there's a little bit more of a soulful sort of approach, I think, as you lean into some of the exploration that you're having. And if things have felt a bit combative in the beginning part of the month, they definitely, you know, slow a little bit to a pace that just feels a little bit easier for you to process emotionally. We also have Neptune shifting out of Pisces and into Aries on the 30th, so a big shift planetarily. And again, you know, with everything going on this month, you're just set to have your equilibrium a little bit, you know, sort of churned up, shall we say. Okay, now if you're new to the channel, the last three cards we're going to look at in the extended reading, talk for another 25 minutes or so. You're going to find insights for a personal question and a relationship card also, so I hope you'll join me. It's a way to support the channel. I'm just clarifying these cards to see the direction we're going to take this in. We've got Eight of Wands, Three of Swords. What about this Knight? We've got the energy of the Empress. So you can check out over on my website, romywiser.com, ways to work with me. You'll be able to find out how to get a personal reading with me. You'll also find my sacred sort of titles, my Life Soul Vision Oracle, my journal and my book, and all of the ways that I seek to support you through my membership and products. Okay, Judgment, Ace of Cups, okay. Three of Wands. You see the decision that comes your way, you know, ultimately I think it feels like it's got a positive outcome for you, even though it arises with a sort of intensity or a challenge in some regard. Okay, what about this Two of Cups? What do we have? Temperance. There's the balance coming in. Beautiful. Queen of Wands. There's a lot of creative energy to find solutions this month. So anything where you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like an impasse with anyone or anything, it's very temporary. Like I said, remember that this life is filled with seasons and cycles, with phases. Everything changes. Nothing is supposed to stay the same. And you have to bring your light. Now let's have a look at Life Soul Vision Oracle. We have Golden Ribbons of Light. We've got the Wishing Tree. Portals of Possibility. We've got Energy Conversations. Waves crash and stars fall. And then we've got Root Energy, built from love. Okay. Let's pull one more oracle for Virgo for the month of March. Working through your 7th and 8th house this month. So house of partnerships and relationships, along with a Venus retrograde. You know, there's certainly set to be some interesting reveals for you. Forgiveness. Hurt blocks our light. Okay, who or what do you need to forgive? Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll come on to the extended. Have a beautiful month ahead. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you again soon.